How's it going, my 2A family? How's it going? Please like, comment, and subscribe for more of these bangers that I'm dropping. Straight nothing but information, raw and uncut. Let's get it, let's go. So, today, I'm going to be helping a lot of people out. So, basically, what this whole video is about, I have so many people always asking me, Taz, about carry conceal. Now, carry conceal is a very, very big issue to me. It should be to you also. So, number one thing I always tell people, if you have your Utah license and you carry conceal just about in every 32 states, or some people might have even more than 32 states that they can carry in. The thing is, I always recommend that you should know every local law that you're traveling to go to. So let's say you're traveling to go to Texas. Then I think you should know that local law for Texas on how they carry conceal, what type of ammunition that you can have, the ammunition capacity that you can have, and so on and so on. Because that's very important to a lot of people. Now, let's say for DC, you live in Texas, but you're traveling to DC, and you bring your firearm with you. You need to know that Washington DC doesn't recognize a Utah license. That's one. Two, if you somehow, some way do be able to get a carry conceal in DC for DC, and you're in Texas somewhere, you're on here on vacation or with family, you have to know that you have to have a 10-round magazine in Washington DC. You can't have a 30-round or 20-round magazine, things like that, because it just won't work. You get pulled over, you get stopped. It's a magazine capacity in Washington DC, but there in Texas, or Florida, or Maryland, well, it's a magazine capacity to carry in Maryland, but not to actually own. We'll get into that a little later. But you have to know that your local laws on carrying. You have to understand that you have to actually print out. I tell people you should actually have a printout of the whole country, the whole United States. You need to actually know where you can carry and where you can't. How their local law is in Florida versus their local laws in Mississippi. Because you could be traveling, you might have certain ammunition that you're not supposed to, certain magazine capacity that you're not supposed to have, and things of that matter. So I tell some people, like in New York, I believe you can't go over 10 rounds, and I believe also you cannot have hollow points. I think you can't even have hollow points in New Jersey also. You look, these are your hollow points. So I believe you can't even have that. So that's stuff like that you need to know on your local laws when you're carrying, concealing your weapon, your firearm. You need to know the ins and outs, what you can't do, how you can carry it, how do you travel with your weapon, things in that matter. Same with your Utah. You have a Utah license. People know that some states will allow you to fly with your firearm. Now, it won't be on carry-on, but you will be able to fly with it, and some states do not. Just like same if you go into some gun ranges. You can have full metal jackets, but you can't have steel casing. Some ranges don't like it. So that's another thing that you got to remember. When you're coming to another state, you might be going to the range, and you might have bought your ammunition. You might have drove down. You probably didn't even catch a flight. You just drove down here, and you bought your ammunition. You have to know that. Check on some of the range that you're about to go to. See what their whole law is inside of the range, and what the do's and the don'ts and directions they want you to follow. So I tell a lot of people that it's awesome to have your carry conceal when you're Utah, but you have to also know wherever you're traveling to, what is the local laws. You need to know that. You need to have a printout of that. I say you should have a printout for every state, just because you never know. You could be driving, you can take a detour. Let's say you end up somewhere else or in another state, and you don't have a license for that state, or the license that you do have doesn't cover that state. You might want to be tracked back and getting back to who you're supposed to be, because that is when you'll start running into problems. So I tell a lot of people that it's very important to know that information. Because you need to know. Like I said, coming to DC, it's a 10-round magazine capacity that we have, just the same as California. Same as actually Maryland has a 10-round magazine capacity, but they can actually go out and purchase another high-grade capacity magazine, 20-round, 30-round, whatever, out of state of Maryland. So that is something that they can do. DC cannot. We still have to have 10-round magazines. So the good thing about it is, when we're carrying our firearm, we can have 2 magazines. One that's in our weapon and one we can carry with us. So 20 rounds tops they usually want you to have on person. On person. You listen to what I'm saying? On person. So you can have an extra magazine in the car, but you on person, you have to have at least tops 20 rounds. Okay? 20 rounds tops. So, but you coming from out of another state and you're coming to DC and not knowing that, you can get in trouble. Not sure how they might go with it. You might get your firearm taken, or you might get a fine that you have to come right back down to DC to, go about, seeing what's going to happen, or how they might take to, you not following the law. So, like I always tell people, when you have your Utah license or when you have your carry conceal, even in your state, you should know your local laws, where you can't go, how you can carry your weapon, you're concealing, certain ways. You can check YouTube, things like that. A lot of people show you how to conceal your firearms. Certain clothes that you have to wear to conceal it better. When you're in the summer versus the winter, fall, things in that matter. But it's also just a good thing to always know your local laws and where you're about to travel with your firearm, okay? Because it can turn from good to bad in 20 seconds tops because you did not pay attention or follow the law. So I always tell people, when you're about to travel into a state, have that paper with you to know the local laws of what that state follows and what they have and recommend for you to do with your firearm, how to travel with it, how to conceal it. Maybe they have an open carry, it's an open carry state and you have their license for it. You still want to be able to know and make sure you're following every law that they got for you, because it's serious. You do not want to break a firearm law. You just don't want to do it. You don't want to have to go through the fines or anything in that matter. So like I tell people, make sure you check on the magazine capacity, your ammunition, because that's usually number one tops. You can get arrested because certain ammunition you just can't have in certain states. So you do want to just definitely do that. Check and see the ammunition and magazine capacity. That is the number one thing you want to do, because you just don't want to mess yourself up or your license and things like that over something that's silly that you could have pulled up on the internet. Took maybe about 5 minutes to read over where you're about to travel, how you carry your weapon, how you enter the state, and things in that matter. That's all. That's it. Just here to give you a rundown on as far as your concealment information to know your local laws on concealing. Let's get it. Let's go to a family.